Most people think squats are for the young. After 50, the usual advice is avoid them. I had a different idea. What if a simple squat hold, 5 minutes a day, could help us move better? I ran a 30-day test and tracked everything. The results surprised me. I am Grant, and welcome to SafeStrength Seniors. This is my personal story, not medical advice. Please check with your healthcare provider before you try any new routine. I kept this simple. 5 total minutes a day in a resting squat position. Some days I broke it into short holds with rests. I built this off research showing even 5 minutes of daily movement can shift mobility, and trials where squat practice helped older adults stand up easier over time. Speed to value. 5 minutes of daily squatting improved my hip range in days. The early days were not perfect. Calves complained, hips felt sticky, but with patient holds, my body started to trust the position. Here's the plan today. I will show my starting point, how I set up the routine, the early changes, what got better, what did not, and the safety steps I used. First, reveal. My ankles and hips changed the most. Have you ever tried a daily mini mobility challenge? Tell me your 5-minute habit in the comments and let's compare notes. Tight ankles block squat depth. That was me on day 1. Heels popped up. Hips felt jammed. I wondered if they would ever loosen. So I gave my ankles a daily chance to open. The surprise came fast. Here is what I did. Feet about hip width, toes a little out. I held a wall with my right hand for safety. I sat down and back slowly. I let my knees glide forward over my toes, but I kept heels heavy. I breathed calm. 1 slow inhale, 1 slow exhale. If my heels wanted to lift, I slid a thin book under them. That tiny wedge was a big win. Why it worked? Research shows ankle dorsiflexion, how far your toes move up toward your shin, predicts squat depth and hip flexion. Daily gentle holds coaxed my calves and shins to relax. By week 2, my knees could travel forward more without pain. By week 4, my heels stayed down longer. Hips settled lower with less fight. It felt like the floor rose to meet me. Quick tip, keep heels down. Even a slight wedge helps when ankles are tight. Freed ankles make walking smoother, but steadier walking still needs balance. Let's talk balance next. Strong legs mean better balance. I started wobbly. On uneven ground, I grabbed for a rail. With the daily squat holds, my legs and core began to share the load, and I felt steadier. Here is how I practiced balance inside the squat. Soft eyes on one spot, fingertips to a wall for light support. I pressed big toes and heels into the floor. I kept my ribs stacked over my hips. I breathed easy. 10 seconds. Rest. Repeat. Over days, I lightened the fingertip touch, then hovered my hands just above the wall. That tiny change built confidence fast. Why this matters. Squats train quads, glutes, and deep core. Those are your stabilizers for standing, stepping, and catching yourself. In controlled trials, older adults who practiced squats improved their sight-to-stand counts over several weeks. I felt that in real life. Less wobble on gravel, easier time standing on 1 foot to tie a shoe. By week 4, my stride felt more sure. Try this. Use a wall or a counter for your first holds to boost confidence. A steady base is step 1. Balance improved for me, but I still had a big question. What would my knees think about all this time in a squat? Knee arthritis can scare people away from squats. I was nervous too. The key for me was gentle depth, slow tempo, and no pain chasing. I wanted calmer knees, not angrier knees. Here is how I kept it knee-friendly. I scanned the joint first. No sharp pain allowed. I used partial depth. I held a door frame, sat just to the point of mild stretch, then stood tall. On an exhale, if I felt pressure in the front of the knee, I added a small heel lift to shift the load to my hips. I moved slow. 1 count down, 1 to 2 counts up. I kept breathing the whole time. What happened? Guidance from clinicians says well-chosen exercise can reduce osteoarthritis pain by building muscle support. In longer programs, even people with knee replacements regained comfortable squat range, around 116 to 158 degrees of knee bend with steady practice. In my month, stiffness eased a bit. The joint felt more stable. I did not get any stabbing pain, just a low ache that faded after I stood and walked. So knees survived and even felt calmer. The next question was how to keep all of this safe and doable every single day. The answer was smart props. Going deep stressed me at first. I brought in supports. Small helpers made a big difference. They let me find a safe position and stay there without fear. Option A, seated. Sit on the front edge of a sturdy chair, feet under knees, hinge a little. Lift your hips 1 inch. Hold 5 to 10 seconds. Tap down. This puts more load on hips and less on knees, which many older adults prefer. Option B, supported. Face a door frame, hands on the sides, feet just wider than hips. Sit down slowly, keep heels heavy. Light pull from the arms as needed. Hold 10 to 30 seconds. Stand tall on an easy breath out. Option C, freestanding with wedge. Slide a small book under your heels if ankles are tight. Arms reach forward for counterbalance. Lower to a gentle stretch. Breathe. Hold up to 1 minute in short pieces. Why these work? Chair variations shift a man toward the hip muscles, while free squats ask more from knees and ankles. A heel wedge helps when ankle range is limited. Start with the most stable setup you need. With props in place, one more safety piece matters. Holding still can spike blood pressure if you hold your breath. Here is how I breathed. Isometric holds can raise blood pressure. Many of us strain without noticing. I learned a simple breath pattern that kept me steady. It changed everything. Everything. Here is the pattern. Inhale through your nose before you lower. Lower slowly. Whisper exhale as you stand. In the hold, keep tiny breaths moving. Count in for 4. Out for 4. No breath holding. If you feel lightheaded, stop and sit. Eyes level helps your neck stay calm. Shoulders soft. Jaw unclenched. Why this matters. When people are taught not to hold their breath during isometric holds, the blood pressure spike drops. In one study, systolic went from about 163 down to about 148 during a leg hold after breath coaching. Diastolic also fell. That is a safer response for many older adults. I used this rule the whole month. Exhale on exertion. Breathe gently in the bottom. I stayed alert. No head rush. No red face. If you find these safety tips helpful, subscribe, like, and share. We post weekly safe routines for real-life strength. With breath and rhythm set, the next question is timing. When do results show up, and how fast should you expect changes? Habits take time. I gave this one weeks, not hours. Small gains showed up first, then bigger ones. Patience paid off. Here is my timeline. Week 1, I felt calf and hip soreness, the good kind. By week 2, I could settle lower without fighting. Standing up felt smoother. By week 4, balance felt steadier, and my heels stayed down more often. Research lines up with this idea. Functional tests like sit to stand usually improve over 8 to 12 weeks in older adults who practice squats. Progress can keep building for months, but many people plateau if they see no changes after about 6 months of steady work. How I tracked it. Once a week, I filmed a quick side view. I stacked a book under my heels to keep the setup the same. I checked if my spine stayed tall, if my knees could travel forward without pain, and if my heels stayed in contact. I wrote a one-line note in a notebook after each day. Quick tip, track one thing weekly. Depth, heel contact time, or sit to stand count. Seeing change keeps you going. We saw progress in weeks. Now, here's how I squeeze 5 minutes into real life. 5 minutes sounds simple, but life gets busy. I broke it up and tied it to habits I already do. That made it stick. My setup was 5 sets of 1 minute. Rest 30 to 60 seconds between sets. On very stiff days, I did 10 to 20 second holds 10 times. I stacked it to daily cues. After coffee, 1 minute. After brushing teeth, 1 minute. Before lunch, 1 minute. After a short walk, 1 minute. Before dinner, 1 minute. Many older adults prefer brief daily sessions over long workouts. I can see why. It feels doable. Warm up first. March in place for 30 to 60 seconds. Do 10 heel raises. Do 10 gentle hip hinges with hands on a counter. Then begin your first hold. In every hold, keep breath flowing. Scan knees, hips, and ankles. Stop with any sharp pain or dizziness. Use the easiest version you need today. Stability first, then add time or a little depth or a little less support. This rhythm kept me consistent. Short bursts beat burnout. Okay, that is the regimen. To appreciate progress, we have to rewind. Where did I start on day 1? I started very stiff. My heels barely touched the floor. My hips felt locked. I leaned forward to catch my balance. It was not pretty. That was last month. Why so tight? When we sit a lot and stop using full ranges, the body adapts by shrinking that range. That is common with aging, but it is not a rule we must accept. On day 1, I used a door frame right away. I set my feet a little wider than hips and turned toes slightly out. I lowered just a few inches. I held 10 seconds. I stood and shook it out. Safety checks I used. Pain-free ranges only. If my knee felt pinchy or sharp, I came up. If I got lightheaded, I stopped and sat. I kept my breath soft. I kept my chest tall. I used a low book under my heels for ankle room. I chose the seated version on the rough days. Quick tip, identify your limit and honor it. Do not force depth. Gentle stretch is the goal. We were starting stiff, no doubt. So, how did the first 7 days actually feel inside my body? Here is the honest week 1 check-in. First attempts burned. My legs shook. I thought, this is harder than it looks. But nothing broke. I stuck with short holds. A tiny change came. Day by day, I checked 3 things. Breath calm, knees happy, ankles willing. I felt muscle fatigue in my quads and calves. That was a green light. I felt a dull hip ache at times. I kept the depth shallow and it eased. No sharp knee pain, no back zingers. By day 7, I stood up with less effort. Morning stiffness eased a touch. My stride felt a hair smoother. Daily practice also helped me spot trouble early. I noticed a tight band in my right calf around hold 3 most days. I added a quick wall calf stretch and it settled. I felt hamstrings tug on day 5. I used a chair hover instead of going lower. Rest between holds kept me safe. Here is your guide. Stop if you feel sharp or rising pain. Soreness is okay. Pinch is not. Keep breaths moving. Keep eyes level. The first week felt honest but hopeful. In short, 5 minutes a day gave me less stiffness and more control. Let's wrap it up. We tested one small habit. 5 total minutes of a resting squat each day for 30 days. We started stiff and cautious. We stayed patient. Week by week, ankles opened, hips settled, and balance felt steadier. Knees did fine with gentle depth and smart props. Breath made holds safer. The biggest win was confidence in moving down and back up without panic. Here is my simple recipe. Warm up a little. Choose the safest version. Keep heels heavy. Breathe throughout. Hold short. Rest short. Repeat. Track one thing weekly. That is it. If this helped, subscribe for more weekly joint-friendly routines. Please like and share so a friend can try a 5-minute habit too. This is education only. Always consult your healthcare provider before changing your exercise. I am grateful you spent time with me today on SafeStrength Seniors. Thanks for watching. What small daily move could improve your strength or balance this month? Share one habit you would try, and I will cheer you on.